It was a quiet afternoon in the small neighborhood of Brookside. The sun was warm, and a gentle breeze rustled through the trees lining the narrow streets. The little grocery store at the corner of Maple and Pine was calm, with only a few regular customers moving slowly between the aisles. Mr. Thompson, the owner, was arranging the fresh vegetables near the entrance. He liked to keep things neat. Every tomato, every carrot, every loaf of bread had its place. It was a store he had run for over 20 years, and he knew almost everyone who came through the doors. That day, a young girl walked into the store. She looked around quickly, as if she wanted to make sure no one was watching her too closely. She wore a slightly worn jacket and sneakers that had seen better days. Her hair was tied back in a messy ponytail, and she clutched a small backpack to her chest. There was something about her movements that caught Mr. Thompson's attention immediately. She seemed nervous. She kept glancing around the store, her eyes flicking to the door, the cash register, and then back at the shelves. Mr. Thompson continued, arranging the vegetables, pretending not to watch her, but he could not help noticing the way her small hands moved. She stopped near the snack aisle, where packets of chips and cookies were stacked high. Her eyes widened as she scanned the shelves, and her hand hovered over a loaf of bread. She looked again at the door, then at Mr. Thompson, as if she were trying to judge whether he was watching. In a quick movement, she tucked the loaf of bread inside her jacket. Then, without hesitation, she reached for a small packet of chips and slid it inside as well. Her heart was pounding, and she swallowed hard. She tried to walk casually toward the exit, but her steps were too quick, too eager. Mr. Thompson's eyes followed her, calm but alert. He did not move immediately. He had seen a lot in his years, and he had learned that sometimes it was best to understand a situation before acting. When she reached the door, she glanced back once, as if to see if anyone had noticed. Mr. Thompson stepped outside slowly. The girl froze for a moment, expecting to be yelled at, but he said nothing. He walked quietly behind her, keeping a safe distance, not wanting to scare her. He knew it was important to see what was really going on before making a decision. The girl moved through the quiet streets, clutching the small items to her chest. She walked quickly but carefully, as if she wanted to make sure no one else saw what she was carrying. Mr. Thompson followed, watching her from a distance. He noticed the tension in her shoulders, the way her eyes darted nervously to every passerby. She was clearly afraid of being caught, but not just by him. She seemed worried that someone might see her and judge her, even though no one had noticed so far. She turned a corner and hurried into a small park. The park was mostly empty that afternoon. A few children played near the swings, and an elderly man sat on a bench feeding pigeons. The girl moved toward a bench at the far end, away from the playground, and sat down heavily. She pulled the items from her jacket and set them on her lap. Her small hands trembled slightly as she held the loaf of bread and the chips. She looked around nervously, as if expecting someone to appear out of nowhere. Mr. Thompson approached slowly. He did not call out yet. He wanted her to feel safe, not threatened. When he was a few feet away, he spoke in a calm, gentle voice. "Hello there," he said. "Are you okay?" The girl jumped slightly and looked up at him with wide eyes. She had expected anger, punishment, or at least a loud scolding. Instead, she saw a man kneeling slightly to be at her level, his hands relaxed and empty. There was no anger in his voice, only curiosity and care. I didn't mean to," she began, her voice trembling. She looked down at the bread and chips, her face flushed with shame. "I can see that," Mr. Thompson said softly. "Can you tell me why you took these?" The girl hesitated. She wanted to speak but felt a lump in her throat. Finally, she whispered, We don't have much food at home. My mom. She lost her job. I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't want to get in trouble." Her voice broke, and she blinked back tears. Mr. Thompson listened carefully, his heart softening as he heard her words. He could see that this was not a child trying to be naughty or rebellious. This was a child who was scared, hungry, and trying to take care of her family in the only way she knew. He nodded slowly, understanding the weight of her fear and desperation. "I see," he said quietly. "I think I understand. It must be very hard for you right now." He paused, making sure she was listening. "I want you to know something. Taking things without paying is not the right way to handle it, but I also know that sometimes life can make us do things we would not normally do." The girl looked up at him, still nervous, but slightly relieved that he was not angry. She nodded silently, unsure of what to say. Mr. Thompson smiled gently. "Come with me," he said. "Let's go back to the store for a moment. I want to help." The girl hesitated, fear and uncertainty in her eyes. But something in Mr. Thompson's calm voice made her feel that he really wanted to help, not punish. Slowly, she got up from the bench and followed him. She still held the bread and chips tightly, as if afraid they would be taken away. As they walked back through the quiet streets, Mr. Thompson talked softly. He asked her about school, her friends, and her favorite foods. The girl answered in small, cautious sentences. She began to feel that maybe not everyone would judge her for what she had done. When they reached the store, Mr. Thompson led her inside and offered her the bread and chips she had taken. "You don't have to worry about these," he said. "I want you to have them." The girl looked at him, astonished. She had expected punishment, maybe a lecture or a call to her parents, but not this. She took the items, holding them carefully. Mr. Thompson then asked gently, "Does your family need help?" The girl's eyes filled with tears. She nodded, her voice barely audible. "Yes, please," she whispered. She had not expected anyone to care about their struggles, and now a stranger was offering help without judgment. Mr. Thompson smiled kindly. "Okay," he said. "We will figure something out together. You and your family will not have to go hungry." He made a mental note to arrange some meals for her family and connect them with local resources to make sure they could get food regularly. The girl looked at him, shyly smiling, feeling a mix of relief, gratitude, and surprise. She had been so worried about being caught, but instead, she found understanding and kindness. Mr. Thompson realized that sometimes seeing a mistake through the eyes of compassion could make a bigger difference than any punishment ever could. That afternoon, as the sun began to dip lower in the sky, the girl left the store with a small sense of hope. She held the bread and chips carefully and waved goodbye to Mr. Thompson. He waved back, feeling a quiet sense of satisfaction that he had made a small difference in someone's life. He watched her walk down the street, realizing that what he had thought was just a small incident was actually a chance to show kindness when it was most needed. It was a simple act, a quiet moment in a small neighborhood, but it left a lasting impression on both of them. The girl learned that people could care and understand even when she made mistakes, and Mr. Thompson learned that compassion could turn fear into hope. The streets of Brookside were calm again, but for the girl and the store owner, the day had changed in a way that neither would forget. The girl stood outside the store for a moment, clutching the bread and chips carefully in her hands. She looked up at Mr. Thompson, unsure of what to say. Her small heart was still racing, but it was not with fear this time. It was a strange mix of relief, gratitude, and disbelief. She had expected anger, punishment, maybe even tears from her mother later, but not this. Mr. Thompson smiled kindly. "Come on inside for a minute," he said. The girl hesitated, then nodded slowly. She followed him back into the store. The familiar smell of bread and fresh produce filled her nose. Normally, she would have loved this, but today she had been too scared to enjoy anything. Now, however, the store felt different. It felt safe. "Sit down for a moment," Mr. Thompson said, motioning to a small chair near the counter. He poured a glass of water for her and handed it over. "You must be thirsty," he said. The girl sipped it slowly, her small hands shaking slightly. She had not had much to eat or drink that day, and the water tasted like a small gift from heaven. "Do you want to tell me more about your family?" Mr. Thompson asked gently. The girl nodded, looking down at her feet. "My mom. She lost her job a few weeks ago," she began. Her voice trembled. "We don't have much money, and sometimes there is no food at home. I didn't want anyone to know. I didn't want my friends to laugh at me or my mom to be upset." Mr. Thompson listened quietly, nodding. He could feel the weight of her words. He thought about the many children who had come through his store over the years. Some had taken items without paying, but this story felt different. This was not mischief. This was survival. This was hunger and fear mixed together in a young child's heart. "I understand," he said softly. "I can see why you were scared. You were just trying to help your family." The girl looked up at him, surprised that he could save it. She had expected anger or scolding, but instead, he was calm and understanding. Mr. Thompson thought for a moment. He wanted to do more than just let her keep the bread and chips. He wanted to help in a way that would make a real difference. "Listen," he said, "I can give your family food for a few days, and I can help you find some more support. There are local groups that can help families when times are tough." The girl blinked, unsure if she heard him correctly. "Really?" she asked quietly. "You would help us?" "Of course," he replied. "No one should have to go hungry. It's not your fault that things are hard. I just want to help." Tears began to form in the girl's eyes. She had not expected kindness, especially from someone she had worried would punish her. She nodded, unable to find the right words to thank him. Her heart felt lighter, as if a small burden had been lifted. Over the next few minutes, Mr. Thompson spoke with her about practical things. He asked for her mother's contact information and promised to deliver some groceries to their home the next day. He explained that they would also connect with a local community center that provided meals and support for families in need. The girl listened carefully, grateful and amazed that someone was willing to care. After a while, he handed her a small bag filled with fruits, bread, and snacks. "Take this home for your family," he said. "And remember, you don't have to do these things alone. There are people who can help." The girl took the bag, holding it tightly. She felt a warmth inside that she had not felt in a long time. For the first time in weeks, she felt hope. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you so much." The next day, true to his word, Mr. Thompson delivered a larger bag of groceries to her home. Her mother opened the door, surprised and a little confused to see him standing there. Mr. Thompson explained that he wanted to help after seeing her daughter in the store. Her mother's eyes filled with tears. She had been struggling silently, afraid to ask for help. Now, someone had reached out to them without judgment. Over the following weeks, the girl continued to visit the store, but not for stealing. She came to help arrange small items on the shelves. Learning how the store worked, Mr. Thompson taught her simple things about running a store, about being kind to others, and about making good choices even when times were hard. She loved helping, and it made her feel proud. She also began attending programs at the local community center, where her family received additional support. They got meals, access to clothing, and help with school supplies. The girl's life began to change little by little. She still faced challenges, but now she knew she was not alone. Mr. Thompson often thought about that day in the park. He was still surprised by the courage it took for a small child to act out of desperation, and even more surprised by the chance he had to make a real difference in her life. He realized that sometimes helping someone could start with understanding, patience, and a willingness to listen. The girl, too, never forgot that day. She remembered the fear she had felt, the shame she had carried, and the kindness that changed everything. She learned that mistakes do not define a person, and that even in difficult times, there can be hope. She also learned that there are people in the world who will choose compassion over judgment, who will reach out a hand when others expect punishment. Months later, the girl walked confidently through the streets of Brookside. She carried her school bag with pride, smiling at neighbors she passed. She knew her life had changed in ways she could never have imagined. She still faced challenges, but now she faced them with hope and the knowledge that there were people who cared. Mr. Ramson continued to run his store, but he noticed something different too. He noticed how small acts of kindness could create ripple effects. Helping the girl and her family reminded him of the importance of understanding, patience, and empathy. He realized that sometimes a small gesture could make a lifetime of difference for someone in need. One afternoon, the girl came into the store with her mother. They both smiled as they walked past the shelves, picking out items for their dinner. The girl waved at Mr. Thompson. "Thank you for helping us," she said. "We will never forget it." Mr. Thompson smiled back, feeling a quiet satisfaction that went beyond any business success. He had made a real difference in someone's life, and that mattered more than anything. He knew that he had not only helped the girl and her family, but also shown her that kindness, understanding, and support could make a world of difference. The story of that quiet afternoon in the park, the small stolen bread, and the act of compassion became a memory both of them would carry forever. It was a reminder that even in the smallest neighborhoods, even in the simplest moments, lives could be changed by the courage to act, with kindness and the choice to see the truth behind someone's actions. The girl learned to face life with courage, honesty, and hope. She understood that mistakes are part of growing up, and that help can come from the most unexpected places. Mr. Thompson realized that sometimes understanding and compassion are the greatest gifts one can offer. Together, they proved that kindness could turn fear into hope, shame into pride, and a moment of desperation into a lifetime of change.